Corey, just how much, I guess, easier is it this spring now that you don't have to like fully install the defense again with everybody? It's just kind of teaching things to the newcomers and kind of building on what the other guys who are already here kind of learned already.
I think the details and the foundation and like how we compete and how we go about just the technique and the fundamentals, but really it's a clean start. You know, it's start from the beginning, beginner's mentality to start practice, but to start camp. So the older guys, they'll take the notes and they'll go through the things that, you know, maybe they missed last time or they can understand a little bit better this time. And then we're tweaking things. You know, we're not going to be the same team as we were last year. We got to learn, you know, things that maybe we weren't as good at or weren't as successful at last year. We got to clean that up and we got to find some better answers. And then, you know, things we were good at, you know, it's going to be different players. So now we got to find out exactly what our identity is. You know, as we attack offenses and how we play. So it's beginner's mentality for everyone, including the coaches, and we got to make sure we're treating it that way right from day one.
You had two elite guys up front last year, which is obviously very rare. How much does that make you change going into this year? You've got good defensive ends, but probably unrealistic to expect Bain Mesidor level production.
Yeah, I'm excited about the group we have, and obviously, you know, very thankful for the guys we had last year. We had the seniors that left and the guys that left are very, very talented group, and they changed the game. You know, and some of those guys were here last spring, some of those guys weren't here last spring, and I thought everyone got better, you know, through spring football, through fall camp, and we're excited for what's going to happen here in their near future. But for us, it's, you know, you're always going to be a different team, and it's not the NFL. We're not drafting, we're not trading, we're not, you know, taking someone on the waiver. It's always recruit the best players, recruit guys that love football, recruit guys that love to compete, and then we figure out what we are best as a team. I'm excited about the group up front. You know, I think we have guys that get to the quarterback. We have guys that can stop the run. Now we got to figure out what the best situations and what the best positions are for those guys and how we rotate them and how we play them. Because one thing I definitely think is we're going to have some depth. You know, we have guys competing right now at every position. There's a lot of competition at all three levels, and you know, which is going to make us better. Because you can see guys every rep, there's nothing guaranteed. So they're competing, they're laying everything out there to get better and push themselves every single day. And then our guys, you know, they love each other. They're competing together, and it's making the entire room better, which is excellent for us.
Damon Wilson specifically among your new edge, just initial impression on him and what do you think he can bring to defensive line?
You know, right out the gate, and you know, we showed a clip yesterday in one of the meetings, is how hard he practices. It doesn't matter ones, twos, threes, his first rep in this uniform, but he goes extremely hard. And that's, you know, when you look at the guys last year, when you look at Bain and Mez and Key and Blay and Wes and all the different guys, Jacoby, that's what those guys were. Every day they got better on the field because of how hard they practiced, how hard they competed. And that's one thing he brings to the program right now. And I think the competition in that room, it's going to make everyone in that room better because how hard he practices, how hard he runs to the ball. And it doesn't matter what group he's running with, what rack he's on. It's just every day trying to compete and get better at his techniques, at his fundamentals. Some of the things we teach are a little bit different. So some of the things right now he's going through that process of you know, trying to learn it, trying to learn the technique, trying to learn the hand placement, the footwork, trying to get an understanding of the scheme going on around him. And then the other thing is he's a smart football player. You can tell he's been well coached up, and he understands what's going on, so it's allowed him to adapt a little bit faster.
And kind of sticking with the same group, just two guys like Marquise Lightfoot, who I'm sure will play a bigger role this year, and Hayden Lowe, who missed all of last season. With Lightfoot, just how is he maybe kind of growing now that he's got a bigger role into maybe a more complete defensive end? And then with Hayden Lowe, where is he at in terms of just like his development after having missed all of last year?
Yeah, so both guys, you know, obviously with Keese, you know, he's a guy that played a lot last year. Now, he was a situational guy, he was a role guy. There were weeks he was out there play one, there were other weeks he was out there in different situations. But one thing is we played a lot of football players. You know, a lot of games you saw 24, 25, 26 guys on defense, on the field, on the defensive side of the ball. And then you saw a group of other guys that maybe weren't on the field on defense, but they were competing on special teams. So that all of that experience is guys that have now played football. They've been out there for game one last year. They've been out there for the last game of the year last year. They, you know, whatever the minutes were, all that stuff stacks up to get our guys more experience. At Keish, you can see it already. You know, his technique's been better. His awareness has improved. The way he competes. And then, you know, his block destruction right now. You know, last year was pass rush, third down, put him in situational things. And right now he's made a huge emphasis to go stop the run, to attack people, to go through people at the line of scrimmage. And, he's consistently getting better. And then he's done a great job. Our strength and conditioning program, our sports science program, our nutritionists have done a great job of continuing to add good weight onto his body since we've ended the season in really a short period of time. So I'm excited to see where he's going to go before the season. And then Hayden's a guy, obviously we had an injury, but he's been in every meeting. He worked extremely hard in the offseason, understanding the fundamentals and, where he's got to be aligned and what his job is and where his eyes are supposed to be. And now, he's done some walkthrough reps. He's been in the back enacting, and now he gets to go do it against a different color jersey. And you can see, he understands where to be, he understands what to do. Now it's just doing it full speed. And he'll continue to get better this spring, this summer, and fall camp will be huge for his reps as he continues to compete. And that's the best thing about having who we have on offense. We go against some of the best players every single day. That's just going to make force our guys to get better fast.
OJ looks like he's really started to frame out, especially this offseason. What have you liked out of him in the little bit of the offseason?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. He's another year older, and had a really good freshman year. Had a couple injuries. Continued to learn, continued to grow, competed. I mean, some of the reps he played last year, especially in the postseason, that's as high of a level of football. Shutting down some of those wide receivers, he got the shut down. We'll put him on an island, playing one-on-one. I still think I remember the Louisville game, the 4-minute at the end of the game. He makes a huge third down play and man-to-man by himself to get the ball back. And that's where he'll continue to get better at all those situations. Now, another year in the weight room, another year with our strength coaches, another year with our nutritionists, sports science, and then just, now developing more into a leadership role. Some of those older guys aren't there in the secondary. ZP's back, Fitz is still growing into that role. We've got other guys competing to step up in those situations. We need those guys to step up, and I think that's a role that he's starting to grow, he's starting to learn, and he's starting to embrace, and we're excited to see where that goes.
Corey, with your linebackers, Chase Smith and Mo Torrey having two very experienced guys back to lead that group, how beneficial and valuable is that? And who are some of the guys maybe additionally in that group that you're intrigued by and hoping to see some things from the spring?
Yeah, you always want to have the experienced guys back because they understand the communication, the calls, how fast we play, what the tempo, what the style is. And I thought Chase really, as the season went on, really played, at starter level. Especially when we got in the postseason, he was playing as well as anyone on the field. Mo, same thing in the postseason. I thought he was playing his best football, and now we're excited to stack year two. Both of those guys in this system. But I think there's a lot of other guys. Kellen Wiley's a guy that continues to improve day by day. We're getting a little bit better. Pruitt's a guy that we've moved back down the linebacker. And I think having him play in space in the secondary last year, whether it was as a nickel or as a boundary safety, will help to improve his game because now he gets to come a little bit tighter to the box. He's put on some really good weight. He's competed all offseason. He's getting stronger in the weight room. Zeke's a guy, EJ's a guy that constantly competes. He had a really good offseason. Bonner was a guy that last year was going to be in the mix and got hurt in the opener. He probably would have played a lot more football if he doesn't get hurt early in the season. He's a guy that's done a better job of taking care of his body, being aware, and playing multiple positions now. He's really stood out early here in spring practice and spring workouts. And there's a lot of guys, those freshmen, I think we're excited about what those guys do. But there's a lot of guys in that room that'll push to compete. And some of it might just be situational football. It might just be on third down. It might just be on first, second down. Some guys will be earning special team jobs, but there's a lot of guys that played good roles last year that returned with really good experience.
Marquise had a great year in his opportunities last year, but now he's got to transition to being a starting safety, perhaps. How's that going? What are your expectations?
Who'd you ask about? I'm sorry.
Marquise Fitzgerald.
Bryce.
Bryce Fitzgerald.
They had me messed up. No, it's all good.
He graduated already.
No, and that's where, and our mentality is always, guys, you never know. You might be the starter week one, you might be third string. Someone gets hurt, someone gets, beat, something happens. Everyone's always going to be in a position where we step up. And we had different guys last year. He's one of the guys, that first game, I got to go back and look if he played a snap. Early in the season, I don't think he played a lot of snaps, but just kept getting better and better. And we talked about it last year in fall camp, the ball just always found him. He always made plays, and sure enough in the season, I think he had 6 picks. And some of those, had a handful of starts in there. I think the Virginia Tech game was a start. I think Pitt might have been a start. Early in the year, I think NC State might have been a start. And just, it was, we didn't miss, anything as he stepped into that role, because he was competing in situational, he was competing on special teams, the way he went about his practice habits. And some of those things we got to continue to get better. We want to continue to get him a little bit bigger. We want to continue to get him a little bit more physical. Continue to be a little bit more detailed with his eyes. And those are things early on you've seen that transition already happen. And now he's going to communicate more. And those are things that are starting to get better and better. But now he's no longer a freshman. Really, last year the way we looked at it, by the time we got to that middle of the season, he was a veteran player with the reps he had played and with the special teams reps he had played and his awareness in situations. And that's where, like, when he steps up in the A&M game and he steps up in some of those bigger games at the end of the year, like, there was no, it wasn't a surprise to anyone on the sideline or anyone within the family here that he made those plays, because he did it on Tuesday, Wednesday. He did it over and over again all season long.
Coach, the
couple more questions.
And the talent level in the competition on Green Tree is about as high as I've seen it in 20 years. What is your process on setting a depth chart, or what is your philosophy on playing time when the talent level in the competition is so high?
That's what we want. It's, the goal is you get your starters, you get your backups, you get your guys that are depth guys ready to go, and you got your guys developing. We want to develop players, and we want to play a lot of people. Last year it was, sometimes it was, why aren't the linebackers as productive? Or, well, we played 4 to 5 guys in a game. We had a lot of guys, to play, to compete. So for a longer season, we were fresh. Our guys were flying around. We kept them going, and that was early in the year. Some of those games where one of our big messages for the defense right now is 4 quarters. Last year as a 4th quarter team, we got to get better on defense. And that's one of the biggest things. We got to strain through practice. We got to play more players early in the year. In some of those games, we have an opportunity to put the game away on defense, and we got to step up and we got to respond. And it may be different guys rotating on the D-line. Later in the year, we played 9 or 10 guys on the D-line. At linebacker, we played 4 or 5 guys. In the secondary, we played 4 or 5 different safeties most of the season. At corner, we rotated 4 and really 5 guys as the postseason came in. And that's what we want. We got to have the depth, and it's got to be, we're not even going to blink. Next guy in, rotations, it doesn't matter. And in spring ball and fall camp, one of the biggest things we try to do, I don't want the same guys playing with each other. Because all of a sudden you start figuring out this guy makes all the calls, that guy doesn't say anything, we want our guys to pick each other up. I want older guys playing with younger guys. I want experienced guys playing with guys that need to get the experience. We want our guys picking each other up, coaching each other up, and I love it when you see, something happens on a field, and before a coach can even do anything, you see one of the other players go jump him. In a good way, in a positive way. Hey man, this is what we're doing. Hey, keep your head up. This is how we're going to play this. Keep communicating. Keep pulling each other up. And it's awesome to see our veteran guys take that ownership, take that leadership. We want all our guys constantly pulling each other up, and then they can demand what the expectation is from one another when everyone's on the field. And that brings everyone in the program up, gets everyone to the same level, and then we don't blink who's on the field.
Last 2 questions.
Corey,
Go to Samantha. We'll go to Wee Wee after.
Coming back with a different team, you have very much stayed the same in terms of yelling, screaming, running up and down. Dawson said he loved watching that. How much do you like being known as that guy, and in what ways do you want to change, be better in year 2 here?
For us, it's, the biggest thing is the energy, the excitement, and it's, we want our guys to love coming into the building. We want our guys to love being here. It doesn't matter, we always say you're never too high, you're never too low. We're always the same. We're always getting better. And whether we're coming off a loss, we're coming off a bad practice, we're coming off a win, it doesn't matter. We're always the same. And the energy that we create in the building, the energy that we create as players, as a coaching staff, as a program, that pulls everyone up. And that's what we're going to do. On defense, we're going to fly around. We're going to run around. Some days are harder than others. I got an almost 2-year-old. There's nights she doesn't sleep, and it's like, all right, let's go. We gotta go get this thing. And the staff pulls me up. That's the environment that we've created, really, from Coach Cristobal throughout the entire program. I love it. Like, my favorite thing is coming in the building. I love being here. I love it when our guys compete. I love watching our guys go out and get better every single day. And that's the environment we want to create for our defense and for the whole team, is the excitement, guys flying around, and then guys celebrating together and enjoy playing together as a team.
Last question, Adam. Go ahead.
Just what have you guys seen from J.J. Dunnigan since he's gotten on campus?
So he's been, obviously recruiting him, the awareness, how smart he was, well coached. The high school program, his family did a really good job. And then, how he loves football. He's in the building, he's constantly competing, he's constantly getting better. He's a guy, he's young. He'll make mistakes, things are going to happen. We've given up a couple more explosives in 2 practices right now. But he's a guy that's always getting better. He's a guy that's always in the building, always asking questions, loves the game of football, and he's going to make the team better. And he'll be a guy that'll have an opportunity, whether it's on special teams or defense. In this defense, we've been lucky with safeties. A couple of years ago, where I was, it was a safety. Last year, we had a safety step up and play at a really high level. And he's got a spot where He's going to continue to battle. He's going to continue to take advantage of his opportunities. But so far, he's been really impressive with the way that he competes, the way he shows up in the building, the way that he's got energy every single day, and how smart he's been as far as picking up the scheme, and then how fast he's played on the field.